Classroom rewards. Objective: teachers will be able to generate a list of whole class and individual rewards to use when students consistently behave in class. Rewards, definition and examples. A reward is a thing given in recognition of one's service, effort, or achievement. When you give a student a reward, you are recognizing that the student has displayed a positive behavior. However, in order to figure out the type of rewards to give, you must figure out how to motivate your students in the first place. Let's take a moment to look at the different types of motivation. First, we have intrinsic motivation. Intrinsic motivation is doing something for the sake of personal satisfaction. The primary motivator is internal. You are intrinsically motivated when you do something simply because it makes you feel good, is personally challenging, and/or leads to a sense of accomplishment. For example, a student may be intrinsically motivated to read because it satisfies their curiosity about the world and brings them a sense of calm. Intrinsic motivation is doing something just because. They perform because it makes them feel good. Pros of intrinsic motivation. Students come into the classroom excited about learning. School will appear engaging. And students will do tasks without complaining or misbehaving. Cons of intrinsic motivation. Some content is boring. You will have to find alternative ways to motivate students to learn the information. Topics that we are motivated to learn are not always the most valuable things to learn about. And schools have a standardized curriculum. Therefore, students are not always able to learn the topics they are intrinsically motivated to learn. Next, we have extrinsic motivation. Extrinsic motivation relies on external rewards to achieve motivation. Many of us are motivated by money, praise, awards, recognition, and benefits. Students choose behaviors not because they enjoy them or find them satisfying, but in order to get something in return or avoid an adverse outcome. Here are some pros and cons of extrinsic motivation. Pros: students are motivated to complete tasks that are boring but necessary. Teachers may see their students improve academically. If students know that they will receive rewards for putting in extra effort, they will. Better behavior is one of the results that most teachers desire from a reward system. Reward-based motivational systems prove that unwanted behavior can be curbed by putting such a method in place. For cons, rewards lose their effect over time, leading to decreased return on a teacher's effort. Secondly, rewards vary depending upon the student. Teachers need to know their students well to cater rewards effectively. And finally, students are unlikely to remember school fondly when they are not encouraged to love learning for its own sake. The choice to use a reward system in your classroom depends on your personal philosophy or beliefs. It also depends on the type of students you have in your classroom. If you are for rewards, You may feel that rewards are a good way to motivate students. They help curb unwanted behavior. Students will make an extra effort if they know they will receive a reward. If you are against rewards, you may think external rewards only produce short-term results. If children are constantly offered external rewards, they eventually will be unable to achieve goals without receiving some form of incentive. According to Monica Frank, PhD, the more children are provided rewards for activities that have natural reward, the more they will expect a reward and be unable to set or achieve goals without that extrinsic motivation. We've all had students that demand to know, what are we going to get for this? Or, what do we get if we complete this task? If we provide the why for our students too frequently, we stand in the way of them becoming independent learners. Having an external reward system isn't all bad. Rewards can be beneficial, especially in situations where children are needed to complete a task that they do not find desirable. The right incentive can motivate students to learn a new skill and become invested in learning. Bottom line, the key is finding the right balance. When should you consider implementing a reward system? If your students are failing, if you receive a lot of incomplete assignments or your students are missing work, your students lack motivation and interest, you are experiencing chronic behavior problems, students refuse to do their work, your students lack focus and don't pay attention, and students are not getting along with one another. If you are a first-year teacher, implementing a reward system ahead of time can help you avoid the problems listed on this slide. You may also consider implementing a reward system if your school uses a reward system as part of their school-wide behavior plan. Choose your reward system. You may choose a token-based system where individual goals are set ahead of time and students earn tangible rewards like stickers, points, or classroom dollars for meeting these goals. Table points. Each table or group earns points collectively while competing against other groups. Or class points. The whole class earns points together. Many teachers use a mixture of the three, offering individual, group, and whole class rewards so that all students can be successful. Let's take a look at a few intrinsic reward ideas. 1. Individual sharing. Invest some class time in rewarding performance or behavior by giving students the floor for a special show and tell or a presentation designed to introduce classmates to more esoteric hobbies they enjoy with which others may not be familiar. Even just the ability to share an online video of their choosing, previewed by you of course, can work. 5 minutes of a cat video on YouTube can pay big dividends in piquing other students' interest in self-expression. Number 2, creature comforts. Every child wants more freedom. This can be as simple as allowing students to sit on the floor doing group or individual work, offering the option to take their shoes off or listen to music while they work. Depending on your level of trust and the clearances you've obtained, You can also allow chosen students to work in other areas of the school, like the library or lab. Number 3, positive feedback. Teachers should provide positive feedback, verbal or nonverbal affirmations, to children when they follow the rules. The purpose of positive feedback is to increase the likelihood that children will engage in appropriate behavior. The most powerful positive feedback is behavior-specific praise or descriptive praise. A positive declarative statement directed toward a child or group of children that describes a desirable behavior in specific, observable, and measurable terms. This involves saying the child's name and telling him or her exactly what was done correctly. When a teacher provides behavior-specific praise for a child, oftentimes other children will hear and engage in that behavior as well. For example, the teacher directs a class to clean up for the transition and provides behavior-specific praise to a few children who immediately follow directions. Michaela and Patrick, fantastic job cleaning up the art studio and throwing away your trash. The teacher says this in a voice loud enough for the other children to hear. She gives all children who subsequently clean up a high five when they line up at the door for the transition outside. Let's take a look at a few positive feedback ideas. Sending a positive note home with the child, making a positive phone call home, giving a classroom cheer. For example, I saw Alice, Peter, and Carl waiting so safely for the slide. Let's give a big cheer. Giving the child a stamp on his or her hand or a small sticker. And finally, letting the child be the line leader or teacher's special helper for the day. Number 4, choice. Consider holding some decision-making power back to use as rewards. Frame such a reward system as students who have demonstrated the right amount of maturity can be trusted to choose their own assignment, book, project, or other relevant option. Now let's take a look at extrinsic reward ideas. Make an acknowledgement plan. Decide on desired behaviors to target. Identify the specific behaviors you want to see increase. Determine where, when, and how often you will look to see if that behavior occurs. Finally, clearly explain what behaviors you are looking for to your students. Make sure the targeted behavior is developmentally appropriate for the child and is something that you think the child can master. Give end-of-the-week rewards for younger or elementary age children. Here are a few formal reward system ideas. Use a chart to engage children and reinforce positive behaviors. Use individual behavior sheets printed on a weekly basis. Or have whole class charts, jars, class money, or points. Keep the chart visible in the room so children can see their daily progress. Here is an example of a class chart filled with stars that were earned by the students. Here are some digital options. You can use Class Dojo. Class Dojo is a school communication platform that teachers, students, and families use every day to build close-knit communities by sharing what's being learned in the classroom through photos, videos, and messages. Classcraft engages students to live by your class rules in an interactive way. Classcraft helps educators deliver on the promise of PBIS by harnessing the power of games to promote lasting behavior change and engagement. Here are a few helpful tips. Number 1, in order to avoid reward system burnout, keep your rewards simple, free, or cheap. Helpful tip number 2, give the rewards liberally. Especially in the beginning, you'll want to give out lots of rewards at random when you catch their good behavior. Here is a list of whole class reward ideas. Board game time, decorate the classroom, feeding choice, late assignment tickets, comfy day, music time, extra credit opportunity, reduced homework assignment, or invite a guest speaker to class. Helpful tip number 3, give feedback with rewards. Taking a minute to talk with each student about what they did well and what they can improve on is part of what makes a classroom reward system work well. Here is a list of a few free reward ideas. I'll only mention a few. You have free homework passes, or they can charge their cell phone in any outlet. Maybe you can give them extra recess, or they can sit in the teacher's chair. These are all great ideas to use as free rewards. Helpful tip number 4, ask students their opinions. What rewards do they like? Which ones do they find pointless? Keep your system fresh by incorporating these ideas. Here are a few ideas for cheap rewards. Food or snacks, all children love that. Stickers, pencils, pens, erasers. Or you may have a prize box. Sometimes schools provide prize box for teachers at the beginning of the year. Helpful tip number 5, reduce gradually. You can raise the percentage needed over time or make earning rewards more difficult if you are wanting to wean students off the rewards. Just make sure you communicate these changes. Now, let's talk about self-management strategies. Teachers must monitor their own behavior using self-management strategies to ensure that they are providing more positive feedback than giving directions or correcting inappropriate behavior. Let's take a look at a few self-management suggestions. Put a number of rubber bands on one wrist and move each rubber band to the other wrist whenever you provide a positive descriptive comment to a child, with the goal of moving all the rubber bands over in each activity or routine of the day. Tally the number of times positive feedback is used during the day on a sticky note, the board, or clipboard. Use a timer to cue yourself to provide positive feedback at regular intervals. And finally, ask a coworker to count the number of times you use positive feedback. We have reached the end of the lesson. Answer the following questions. What type of reward system will you be using in your classroom? What type of motivation will you use? Intrinsic, extrinsic, or both? And 3, how will you keep track of points? Refer to your teaching style, personality and vision to answer these questions.